You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, my goodness. We've all been waiting for something involving Aaron Rodgers outside of all the rumors. And I think one thing's pretty apparent. The National Football League, the NFL, believes that Aaron Rodgers will be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And how do we know that? How do we prove that? Well, because they just fired the first shot as the Jets will host the Steelers and presumably Aaron Rodgers in week 1. It should be noted, by the way, Justin Fields was a starting quarterback for the Steelers last year. So this tells us right here the plot is thickening, and it's thickening quickly. All right? A lot of the signs, look, if several of these sprinkled in people say that it's been a done deal, I've said the NFL knows it's been a done deal. All right? So the schedule makers knew that going into this process. For the third straight season, Aaron Rodgers will be starting the season in a game involving the Jets. If he signs with the Steelers, and if the report that is circulating regarding week 1 of the schedule is accurate, Matt O'Leary of the Just Jets podcast reports that the Jets will open the 2025 season by hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. If accurate, it means Rodgers will be back in New Jersey right out of the gates. This is freaking awesome. First, Rodgers has to sign with the Steelers, and it's widely believed that he will. It goes on to talk about Cowherd, talking about Rodgers waiting on the schedule. Again, if the report is accurate, it's a very juicy option for week 1. Too juicy, it seems to be tucked into a full slate of early games. Even without Rodgers on the Steelers, former Steelers quarterback Justin Fields will likely be starting for the Jets. If Rodgers joins the Steelers, he'll also see the Packers in Pittsburgh and the Vikings in Ireland in 2025. He'll get a chance to return to Chicago, where he can once again remind Bears fans that he still owns them. It all becomes official tonight, of course, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. my time. Graziano is coming out and making a statement about Rodgers going to the Steelers. Quote, "I'm talking to sources about this situation. I don't get the sense that the Steelers are as concerned about their quarterback room as everybody else." Dan Graziano wrote via ESPN this morning. First of all, they remain optimistic that Rodgers will sign and be their starter, and that he'll play better than he did last season for the Jets now that he's 1 year further removed from his 2023 Achilles injury. What has it been, and what it is, that I have been saying on this channel. The further he gets away from the Achilles injury, the better he is going to be on the field. All right? And I think the Steelers know that. I think there's precedent for that across the league with a ton of players. The possibility of Rodgers retiring remains, but multiple people who know him have said they don't expect that to happen after a tough season last year in New York. If he does play, the Steelers seem like the only option. Art Rooney II has expressed confidence in Rodgers eventually signing multiple times now, including during the draft a couple of weeks ago. Achilles injuries are difficult to come back from, but especially so at 40 years old. If Rodgers has anything left in the tank, it's pretty reasonable to expect him to look better in 2025 than he did at the beginning of 2024. He actually played well at the end of the season, something I've also told you on this channel. With a 64% completion percentage, 1,270 yards, 9 TDs, and 3 INTs over the last 5 games with the Jets. There was adequate talent surrounding Rodgers in New York, but the team overall was dysfunctional with head coach Robert Saleh being fired in the middle of the season, Arthur Smith and the Steelers provide much more established culture and system to succeed in. Let's be honest. Don't we believe that Aaron Rodgers is probably right out of the gate got more respect for Mike Tomlin than he probably did Robert Saleh? Although I got to be honest with you, I don't know if that's the best way to have gone, because I think a lot of us sat back and watched the Jets get noticeably worse once Robert Saleh was fired. And you noticed the Niners tried to get him back in the building very quickly. In fact, Robert Saleh almost got the Jaguars job. Beyond Rodgers, Graziano says the Steelers are confident in Mason Rudolph. Good God. Oh, that becomes Mason Rudolph versus Justin Fields if Rodgers for some reason doesn't show up. You got to wonder you notice we didn't have a time slate on that game. All right, no time on the schedule for that game. So they didn't say it was going to be an afternoon game. The Steelers are a huge brand, and you've got New York. Is this going to be an afternoon game, one of the ones where there's, less games in a premium spot, or is it going to be Sunday Night Football? Is that possible? Could it end up being Monday Night Football? Let me look at that article real fast and see. It does not say a thing about what day. So is this Monday Night Football? Is Aaron Rodgers maybe looking at opening the season with Monday Night Football? I don't know. You would think, though, the league was smart enough to put the Steelers going to New York to face the Jets week 1. So, and look, that was pretty smart too, because if the Jets fizzle out, you'd rather put them at the beginning of the year. Some are thinking that maybe the league is trying to get the Cowboys, a little earlier from Thanksgiving back towards the first of the year in case they end up fizzling out. That kind of thing, because, look, there's still a ratings draw. So anyway, this is a big indication right here. This is the NFL telling you, far as we're concerned, Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to make the schedule like that. And then you add in that layer of Justin Fields and how interesting that story could potentially be, because I got to be honest, I wasn't completely sold at all that Justin Fields should have ever gotten benched for Russell Wilson last year. All right? Because for all the Russell's mobile and blah, 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 he wasn't as mobile as Justin Fields. And I think Justin Fields had 10 total touchdowns when he was benched to 1 interception. I don't know, 1 or 2 interceptions. So 10 total TDs to like two picks, maybe 1 pick. So he was actually performing pretty well. They just weren't lighting up the scoreboard, but they were controlling games, yada, yada, yada. So that could be interesting. Tell me what you think. Is this the biggest sign yet that Rodgers is becoming a Steeler? Yeah, I say it's pretty much a done deal at this point. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.